Hello everyone, myself Dr. Shyam Verma. Today we are going to discuss upon liver injuries. The liver injuries caused by blunt trauma. The blunt trauma, also known as blunt force trauma or non-penetrating trauma, is physical trauma or impactful force to a body part, often occurring with the road traffic collisions, direct blows, assaults, or injuries during sports, and particularly in the elderly who falls down. Next, stab injury. A stab wound is a specific form of penetrating trauma to the skin that results from a knife or similar pointed objects. While the stab wounds are typically known to be caused by knives, they can also occur from the variety of implements, including broken bottles or ice packs, etc. Next, we will see the type of liver injuries, that is contusion, laceration, avulsion, extension into thorax, and biliary tree. It may be associated with the other organ injuries like spleen, kidney, duodenum, bowel, that is small or large intestines, inferior vena cava, and along with the fracture of ribs. After injury to the liver, there is a formation of contusion. It happens when an injured capillary or blood vessel leaks blood into the surrounding area. Contusions are a type of hematoma which refers to any collection of blood outside of the blood vessel. If injury to the liver is more, there is a form of laceration. It is a wound that occurs when the skin, tissues, and or muscle is torn or cut open. Laceration may be deep or shallow, long or short, or it may be wide or it may be narrow. Here in the CT scan, you can see the laceration. It is a grade 4 laceration of the liver in which there is a parenchymal disruption. If it is 25 to 75% hepatic lobe, it is 4 degrees. So you can clearly see in the picture. In this type of liver injury, the avulsion, it is the action of pulling away or tearing away, in which the peripheral or perihilar liver tissues may become partially devascularized by a deep laceration or complete avulsion of the hepatic blood supply. This devascularized area of the liver appears as wedge-shaped regions extending towards the liver periphery, and they fail to enhance after the administration of contrast material. Now we will see the clinical features of liver injury. There is a feature of shock due to the severe torrential bleeding that will lead to pallor, hypotension, tachycardia, and sweating. And we can see the feature of shock like altered conscious state, pale or bluish or cool moist skin, restlessness or irritability. It may be excess sweat or excessive thirst, rapid or weak pulse, and rapid breathing. Next clinical feature is abdominal distension. Here in this picture you can see when there is a bloating of abdomen, the normal abdominal wall, the muscles, everything will be normal and it will protect from distension. When the normal viscerosomatic reflex is not normal, when there is diaphragm is contracting and abdominal wall is relaxes, the distension happen because the muscles and all it is now loosen up, and that's why it became distended. Even you can see in the ascites patient, because of the muscle relaxed and the other features, the abdominal wall is being relaxed, so the distension will be there. So in this same condition also, if there is a torrential bleeding happens, if there is a hemoperitoneum or pneumoperitoneum, there will be distension of abdomen. Next feature is guarding. The abdominal guarding is a tension of abdominal wall muscles to guard inflamed organ within the abdomen from the pain of pressure upon them. The tensing is detected when the abdominal wall is pressed. Abdominal guarding is also known as defend muscular. For example, when there is a abdominal injury, internal organ injury, the tense muscle of the abdominal wall automatically go into spasm to keep the tender underlying tissues or being undisturbed. So if there is any inflammation inside the abdomen, the muscle spasm happens and it protects the internal organs. Next feature is abdominal tenderness. Tenderness is a pain or discomfort when an affected area is touched. So when the abdominal area where the liver injury is happened, if we touch the right hypochondriac region or any abdominal region, there will be abdominal tenderness. Next feature is breathing difficulty, and there is a tachypnea and the respiratory distress. Often it lead to cyanosis. Next feature is hemoperitoneum, in which the blood collects in the peritoneal cavity, which is led by rupture of right lobe of the liver, or it may be any lobe. It is right lobe is more common than the left lobe. It leads to hemoperitoneum. So occasionally when there is a liver injury, because of localized hematoma, it leads to hepatic abscess because of the infection. Next clinical feature is biliary leak, so bile leak from the injured site, which can lead to biliary peritonitis. So from any leak from the bile will lead to inflammation of the other organs inside the abdominal cavity, that will lead to peritonitis. So primary investigation for liver injuries, first will need to go for chest x-ray from AP view to look out for any rib fractures, because the broken rib can injure the internal organs, or if it is the floating ribs, it may injure the liver in the right lobe, or in the same way if it is in the left side, it may injure the spleen. So X-ray is always important to see whether the injured ribs are causing any trouble or trauma to the internal organs. Next, ultrasound of abdomen to see any liver injury or any other abdominal organ injury. For blunt trauma, it is assessed by CT scan, and CT scan of chest and abdomen, it is ideal for any abdominal injuries or any injuries, and by CT scan only there is a CT grading of liver injury. There is a grading system for liver injury which is done by CT scan only. So it is gold standard, and which is done for all the internal abdominal injuries. Diagnostic peritoneal lavage is a surgical diagnostic procedure to determine if there is free floating fluid, most often the blood, in the abdominal cavity. It is performed to see if there is any hemoperitoneum, usually secondary to trauma is suspected. DPL is done with the local anesthesia. A vertical skin incision is made 1/3 of the distance from umbilicus. After that, a catheter is inserted towards the pelvis, and aspiration of the material attempted using a syringe. If no blood is aspirated, 1 liter of warm saline is infused, and after a few minutes this is drained and it is sent for analysis. An arterial blood gas test measures a amount of arterial gases, that is oxygen and carbon dioxide. This ABG test requires a small volume of blood which is drawn from the radial artery by a syringe and a thin needle. Through ABG test, you can evaluate the imbalances in the oxygen, carbon dioxide and the pH levels of your blood, which can indicate the presence of certain medical conditions, that is kidney failure, there may be heart failure, uncontrolled diabetes, hemorrhage, chemical poisoning, or any over drug dose or any shock, that will be evaluated by the ABG scan. With the help of ABG, we can determine if there is respiratory acidosis or alkalosis, or metabolic acidosis or alkalosis, depend on the levels of pH, then arterial oxygen and carbon dioxide. As almost all the coagulation factors except the 8th factor is produced from the liver, so to assess the liver function, the coagulation tests are must to be done. The liver arteriography, it is done to visualize the bleeding branch or bleeding vessels in the liver, and after that the embolization can be tried to stop the blood vessel or the bleeding blood vessel. Thromboelastography machine is a dynamic form of assessing the coagulation status on the table. This test is mainly used in surgery and anesthesiology. although increasingly used in resuscitations also, in emergency wards or ICUs and in labor also. The interpretation of TEG machine. In additional studies, it shows it may be used to characterize COVID-19 associated coagulopathies also. The TEG with platelet mapping may be used to guide a use of anticoagulants and antiplatelet medicines. So who are taking anticoagulants or antiplatelet medications, to see how it is working, to see the coagulation status, we can go for thromboelastography machine. So here we'll see the CT gradings of liver injury. So if grade 1 type of liver injury, it will produce subcapsular hematoma less than 10% of surface area, or capsular laceration less than 1 centimeter in depth. So if there is laceration or if there is cut only of 1 centimeter depth. Second grade, there will be hematoma that will be 10 to 50%, that will be intraparenchymal less than 10 centimeter of diameter. If there is laceration, that laceration is of 1 to 3 centimeter in depth, it is less than 10 centimeter in length. Third grade of liver injury, there will be subcapsular hematoma more than 50%. Intraparenchymal is more than 10 centimeter in diameter, and which will be expanding. So whenever there is injury, it will be get expanding, and there will be capsular laceration of more than 3 centimeter in depth. Grade 4 laceration or grade 4 injury is parenchymal disruption of, parenchymal means there is a liver parenchymal disruption of 25 to 75% of any hepatic lobe, which is 1 to 3 cognate segments. Fifth grade is laceration is of more than 75% or more than 3 cognate segments. There will be major hepatic veins and retrohepatic vena cava injuries will be present. So in the grade 5, there is a laceration along with that vascular injury is there. In grade 6, there is a vascular injury because of hepatic avulsion. So there is a tearing forces which is causing the blood vessels also to tear it off. So by here now we will see the treatment of liver injury. Initial conservative non-operative management of liver injury, it is done in the patients of non-progressive liver injuries, in the patients who are hemodynamically stable and who have low grade, that is grade 1 to grade 3 liver injury, which is graded by CT scan, which needs less than 2 units of transfusion, or it may be without peritoneal signs, or there will be normal mental status. In the treatment of liver injury, to stabilize hemodynamically, the crystalloids or colloids infusions has been given, like ringer lactate or DNS D5, depending on the condition of the liver injury. Then depending on the blood loss or hemodynamic status, the blood transfusion is done. The red packed cell volume or the whole blood is transfused. The fresh frozen plasma is a blood product made from liquid portion of whole blood. It is used to treat the condition in which there is low blood clotting factors, that is if 1.5 lakhs, if less than 1.5 lakhs, or low levels of other blood proteins, this fresh frozen plasma is infused. The bladder catheterization has to be done to measure the urinary output. Intracostal drainage is done for placement of ICT, intracostal tube, into the thorax, and to repair the diaphragmatic injury. If there is any rib fracture that is causing pleural effusion or anything, so in that condition, to take out all the pleural fluids or any pleural contents, ICD is being done. So here we have seen the general management of liver injury, that is from grade 1 to grade 3 if there is non-progressive liver injury. Now we'll see if there is a progressive or if it is a greater injury, which is from grade 4 to grade 6 injuries. So here first is push, that is direct compression over the injured part of the liver. after the laparotomy. Then plug, that is plugging of deep track injuries using the silicone tube or SB tube. Third one is Pringle's maneuver, we will discuss it later. Then pack, that is liver wound is directly packed with the mops. Hereby we will see the phase wise management of liver injury. So first is laparotomy is done for the control of bleeding by various methods as we discussed in the last slide, and closure with the pack is done. Phase 2 is resuscitation is done after managing and metabolic insult, that is by hypothermia with the temperature less than 34 degrees Celsius. Coagulopathies like PT and INR, that is prothrombin time and international ratio, that is more than 50% above the normal, and acidosis with the pH less than 7.2. In the phase 3, there is re-exploration and definitive procedures like resection of liver or debridement and suturing of liver, or there is reconstruction of major vessels, etc. These are the phase-wise treatment of liver treatment. Laparotomy is a surgical procedure in which a large incision is made on abdominal. It is used to look inside the abdominal cavity to diagnose or to treat any abdominal health condition. Here we'll see if any liver injuries or how much liver injury is there, hemoperitoneum or in vascular injury. With that, with the help of laparotomy, we'll be able to see that. So here after laparotomy, perihepatic packing is a procedure in which the liver is packed to stop the non-arterial bleeding, which is most caused by hepatic injury. This Pringle maneuver is performed with the vascular clamp. It occludes the hepatic pedicle containing the portal vein, hepatic artery and common bile duct. This is another technique to stop the bleeding. Here the hepatoduodenal ligament is clamped either with the surgical tool. This limits the blood flow through the hepatic artery and the portal vein, which controls the bleeding from the liver. After laparotomy, to stop the bleeding, the manual compression of large hepatic injuries temporarily controls the blood loss in the hypovolemic patient until circulating blood volume can be restored. So if there is blood loss when the fresh frozen plasma or blood transfusion is going on, so when the hemodynamically patient is stable, till that the manual hepatic compression is being done. Intrahepatic balloon tamponade in transhepatic penetrating injury, although it is very rarely needed in the trauma of liver, the surgeon must be prepared for intrahepatic balloon tamponade to stop the intrahepatic bleeding. So as we discussed, many control measures to reduce the hemorrhage control, like to stop the bleeding, and there are various methods like Pringle maneuver, manual hepatic compression, intrahepatic balloon tamponade we saw, like to stop the bleeding. In hepatic lacerations, the small liver tear is sutured with Vicryl or PDS mattress suture with placing of gel foam to control the bleeding. So here you can see the liver injury is sutured with the parallel mattress sutures on either side. Along with that, there is a co-opting sutures are to be placed perpendicular to already placed parallel mattress sutures. So to control bleeding on table from hepatic artery and portal vein, both are temporarily occluded using the fingers. Liver can be wrapped with the absorbable mesh, that is mesh hepatography, to achieve hemostasis. In deep severe liver injuries, there are methods which are followed, that is hepatic artery ligation. It is also not usual. Segmental resection or hemihepatectomy, which is not commonly used now. Packing of liver with the temporarily with mops or closing the abdomen, or as we discussed in the last slide, the liver can be wrapped with the absorbable mesh, or that is called as mesh hepatography is to be done. So after complete management of liver injury, the abdomen is closed along with the MOPS and whatever the mesh hepatectomy or any other methods for achieving hemostasis, the abdomen is closed. After the operation, post-operatively, if patient is needed ventilator support or blood transfusion, if there is a loss of blood during surgery or hemodynamically unstable patients, or if they may require electrolyte management also, if there is hypokalemia or hyponatremia that need to be taken care, the proper antibiotic care need to be taken post-operatively. Here we'll see the complications of or sequelae of liver injuries. So first is shock and hemorrhage. Liver abscess or septicemia is 7%. Bile leak will lead to biliary peritonitis that may lead to biliary fistulae. In 10% cases it has been seen. Then disseminated intravascular coagulation, it means there is a coagulation inside the vessels. Hepatic artery aneurysm, arteriovenous and arteriobiliary fistulas lead to hemophilia. Then intrahepatic hematoma, then intra-abdominal abscess like subphrenic abscess or it may be pelvic abscess. Then complication of massive blood transfusion, because there is a lot of blood loss inside the abdominal cavity due to the liver injury. There may be electrolyte imbalances. Then respiratory complications, there may be liver failure also, that it may be acute renal liver failure. Then later we need to see for late sequelae of liver trauma, then that is when the operation is completely done or later, it may lead to common bile duct stricture causing obstructive jaundice. Okay, so it can be managed by endoscopic stenting or by open Raux NY hepatico-jejunostomy. Okay, so mortality is 10%, morbidity is 30%. Associated injuries increase the mortality from isolated liver injury of 3 to 20%. So here I conclude. Thank you so much.